CNN Student News is kicking off its third week of the 2014-2015 school year. I'm Carl Azus, and we're all glad you're watching. First up, parts of Northern California are in recovery mode, and the governor has declared a state of emergency. That'll get money and help flowing to a region rattled by a 6.1 magnitude earthquake. It hit early on Sunday, injuring dozens of people, knocking out power to thousands, and causing breaks in water mains and gas leaks. The total damage cost could exceed $1 billion, and the tremors may not be over. Here are 5 things to know about earthquakes. 1. Aftershocks. Smaller quakes typically follow. Dozens have followed this one. Another significant quake could come this week. 2. On average, there are more than 100 tremors between 6 and 6.9 every year. 3. The most powerful quake on record was a magnitude 9.5 that struck Chile in 1960. 4. The deadliest quake on record shook Haiti in 2010, killing hundreds of thousands of people. 5. A 1-point increase in earthquake magnitude represents a 10-fold increase in ground movement. We might have put a man on the moon in 1969, but we've got a long way to go for Mars. SpaceX is a privately funded space exploration company that hopes to lead the way. This is its Falcon 9 reusable rocket. Well, it was. Something had gone wrong during the launch over Texas, so a system designed to destroy the rocket in case of emergency did its job. No one was hurt. This was just a test of the F-9R. At $54 million, it's a lot cheaper than NASA's shuttles, which used to be the way Americans got in orbit. The next step might have just taken a step back, but as the head of SpaceX tweeted on Friday, rockets are tricky. Through airstrikes and sending troops as advisors to Iraq, the U.S. has been supporting the fight against ISIS. This is a terrorist group that President Obama characterized as a JV team 6 months ago, but is taking much more seriously after ISIS took over large parts of Iraq and Syria. ISIS wants to create a theocracy based on its own interpretation of Islam. It's killed hundreds of people, civilians, minorities, Christians, other Muslims. At one point in Iraq, 30,000 Iraqi soldiers ran away from 800 ISIS terrorists. Why? Fear.
ISIS in many ways is something we've never really seen before. A really large, well-organized, well-equipped terrorist army. But they are lifting significant parts of their playbook from bad actors in the past who also relied on terror to help them rule. For example, the Vikings, way back in the 8th century, were known for such frenzied and vicious attacks on the villages they went after that often people would simply lay down their arms or run away to try to avoid annihilation. Vlad the Impaler in the 14th century was known for his cruelty to the degree that his legacy remains today far beyond Romania. All of us would know it as the inspiration for Dracula. In World War II, of course, Adolf Hitler's Nazis were feared for the cruel efficiency of their military attacks, the Blitzkrieg among them, and of course the slaughter of millions of Jews. Then Joseph Stalin killed hundreds of thousands of his own people, and then the Khmer Rouge in the 1970s had a similar reign of terror against their own people. In each case, these groups fostered the public fear of their cruelty, this sense that they were simply terrorizing people who had to be feared and had to be obeyed. And now ISIS is doing the same thing through these videos being carefully placed on social media sites and shared around the world so that they will be seen by policymakers and the public alike. Here is the weakness in terrorism, however. It only works if the victims are complicit. And by that I mean it only works if the public will watch the videos, will agree to be terrorized, will live in fear. If the public does not do that, the significant weapon of the terrorist is diminished greatly.
See if you can ID me. I'm the tournament of a sports league that's been around for 75 years. I'm held every year in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, where my organization was started. Japan has won 3 of my last 5 events. I'm the Little League World Series. Some other recent winners are from California and Hawaii. But not this year. Yesterday afternoon, it all came down to South Korea and the Jackie Robinson West All-Stars. This is a team made up entirely of African-American players. It's from Chicago, and this was the first time in its 31 years that Jackie Robinson West made the finals. South Korea took home top honors, though, beating Jackie Robinson West 8-4. It was South Korea's first championship victory since 1985. Another headline from the baseball series had nothing to do with the boys of summer.
13-year-old Monet Davis throws like a girl, all right. A girl who can throw 70-mile-an-hour fastballs, and that made the Philadelphia pitcher a serious threat at this year's Little League World Series. Monet captured global attention after throwing a no-hitter, a first for a female in Little League World Series history, and Twitter went crazy. Major League pitcher David Price said Monet Davis is a stud. The NBA's Kevin Durant wrote, "This youngster is striking out everybody and she's a girl." And talk show host Ellen DeGeneres tweeted, "Talk about groundbreaking." But with all the hype surrounding the 8th grader, her message was clear.
We're trying to let everyone know that inner city kids can make a big difference in the baseball industry.
And that she did. Monet attracted the largest TV audience ever for this series, and she is the first little leaguer, and the youngest person, by the way, to be on the cover of Sports Illustrated. However, the baseball phenom and honor roll student says that she's better at basketball. She hopes to play in the WNBA one day. And although her team fell short of making it to the championship game, her impact on Little League, girls, and diversity is certainly long-lasting. Sports Illustrated may have put it best for this game changer. Monet Davis, remember her name, as if we could ever forget.
Let's see who's watching. The schools we pick for our daily roll call come from our transcript page at cnnstudentnews.com, so here are 3 requests from Friday's transcript. From Chickasha High School in Chickasha, Oklahoma, we've got the Fightin' Chicks watching CNN Student News. From Layton High School in Dalton, Nebraska, hello to all the Warriors out there. And from St. Anthony High School in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, there's a whole Roman legion online. These mascots are awesome. If you did any flying when you were a little kid, you might remember the telephones that were embedded into the seat backs. That was cutting-edge technology back when. But as they continually update their planes, airlines are continually updating the technology they offer passengers. And slowly but surely, seat-back TV screens are going the way of the phones and the dodo. What will be left?
It seems that a lot of new planes are missing an item we've come to expect: seat-back TV screens. Well, there's a reason for the disappearing act. Turns out those screens are expensive. Expensive to install, expensive to maintain, and expensive to fly around all the extra weight.
I like the in-flight entertainment, and it's kind of upsetting that they're thinking about getting rid of it.
And they're also becoming less needed because about 3/4 of us board a plane with a screen in hand. Carriers like United are skipping the screens, opting for no seat backs on more than 50 new long-range jets. Instead, there'll be a special server on board loaded with hundreds of movies and TV shows that passengers can stream directly to their gadgets. Delta's trying something similar called Delta Studio. The airline maintains they're still installing screens in their new planes. They're simply giving their passengers both options.
I think it's an interesting idea, but you always see the people sitting on the floor trying to charge. So how are we all going to charge our devices?
You'll definitely miss the on-flight entertainment if it's not available.
Looks like the seatback TV is going to suffer the same fate as the airplane telephone. Guess we've truly entered the era of BYOD. Bring your own device.
If you've ever seen a 1-year-old eat a smash cake, you expect to see a mess. But at this 1-year-old's party held at the National Zoo, there was shockingly little pandemonium, at least at first. Bao Bao, the giant panda, seemed more interested in leaves and in climbing the number 1 on top of her cake than actually eating it. But eventually she came around, gobbling up the frozen fruits and sweet potatoes that adorned her birthday tree. Fortunately, the crowd was patient. Nobody bambooed her. They didn't want a panda creature on her own birthday. That would have been unbearable. I'm Carl Azus. We'll be right back tomorrow with more CNN Student News.